Hi, I'm Carrie Ellis, author of 21st Century Superhuman. This is our 21st Century Superhuman show. And today I have with me a wonderful, beautiful goddess named Antonia Lau, who is a master psychic. She's done over 50,000 psychic readings in her life. She's been extremely psychic since she was a child. She has a lot of amazing things going on the planet. And today we're going to tune into some of the things that Antonia has been able to bring through insights on. So hello, my dear sister. Welcome today.
Oh, welcome, and thank you, Carrie, for having me on your show. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, please go ahead and just share with us a little overview of yourself and your background and what you're doing right now, because you'll be able to do that better than I can.
Perfect. I want your listeners to realize that I am a hard and fast skeptic and have always been. I think that's a good stance because there's so much garbage out there. And so as a child, I was extremely psychic, but I was raised in an academic family that didn't discuss this kind of thing. So by 9, I was pulling my library card to get every adult book off the shelf. By then, I wanted to be the youngest Rosicrucian, the mysteries of life I wanted to understand. But I never had that $5 to put that, through. But what happened was the studies never stopped. I'm a voracious reader. And I realized and recognized and started doing telekinesis and all these kinds of things, using that psychic ability for the positive. And I figured God, creator in the universe, would not give a child this kind of a gift unless it was for the good of others. I knew that at a very early age. But you see, I believe it's not good enough to be psychic because it's part of the human component we're all literally gifted with. However, some use it in a tiny percentage, others in a greater percentage based on their past life circumstances, in between life circumstances, and soul development. So what happens is with the abilities, we promise to use it for the benefit of mankind and to always utilize it by learning it from the right sources or the highest sources, not the lesser. So my studies and degrees and all that good stuff, because I'm just have to have more and more, continue. Now, along this vein of being a hard and fast skeptic, I got into it. I remember going to a university that taught all these eclectic sciences, and I wanted to disprove numerology. This is how I got into every subject of the paranormal or the metaphysical or the spiritual. I wanted to disprove it. And what it would do is work the opposite way. So what would end up happening literally is, that's a good thing, because if numerology was there, all of a sudden in the middle of the night, I was being awakened by the meaning of the 1111, 1122s. I'd be drawn to where that was located in a concert. All of a sudden they make me look up and they would download the full meaning. And so I realized, this is a different process. I heard at one point, because I was reading a book a week, and I heard a chorus of voices say, Antonia, you're going to have to find another method of learning because you'll never be able to process all the material that's written in the world. And I recognized that, and it began. With my work as a psychic, a lot of people just come about their lives, but I would be given mundane or world material or political material was for the benefit of everyone, but I wouldn't share it unless that client asked.
So let me just ask you, how old were you when you first had a psychic awareness, and how did that come to you? Now, and I also just want to say, I feel, and I say this a lot in the 21st Century Superhuman teachings, that there's many of us who are on the planet right now who literally incarnated with some advanced skills or the ability to remember and activate within us these skills that every human has, but to activate them at an advanced level because of our previous lifetime or galactic history.
Correct.
And I recognize you as one of those people. I also recognize that we have this we're in this time of reigniting this powerful goddess energy, and I see you as a carrier of that. So
thank you very much. I started to answer your question. I learned at 5 that I was Again, at 2 years old, I was reading first grade readers. By 6 years old, I was reading sixth grade readers, but really advanced. I could write in longhand or cursive at 6, reading math and science, and all this stuff was normal for me. My mom was pretty intense on grooming us early, but I was shy. Okay, so what would happen was there was a protocol. The house was strict with rules. And my mom, we had to answer a certain way for the door. And so I would sit there. I remember reading the newspaper. I know this is sounding strange as a child, just reading the newspaper and the headlines as she brushed my hair. And I said, the doorbell's going to ring, and it's so-and-so. And then she would look, the doorbell would ring. And the same thing with the phone. And that was a strict protocol, one phone in the house with a lock on it, if you recall. And I would say, Mrs. So-and-so is going to call. And she'd say, what did you say? And the phone would ring. I'd pick it up and hand it to her, and she'd go, oh, hello, Mrs. So-and-so, how are you? So she couldn't discuss it. No one could.
And
so
were you the only one in your family who had?
The only one. And I found through the years of study, usually there's only one to a family to inspire the rest or encourage the rest.
So did you learn that you had to kind of temper what you would say out loud to people?
Big time.
I'm getting all this information, but maybe I better not tell you because.
So what I would know is she couldn't figure it out, and I would just let her mouth just stay agape, and I knew that the information was for the benefit, because it was always a beneficial piece. Then it would start at very early 5 or 6 in the dream state as well. And so I realized I would wake up, and what had just been shown to me in the dream would also have happened or be happening in process. Wow. As I woke in the waking state.
So do you have any sense of, I'm watching my color change here. The sun's just come out really bright where I am. So I'm in Florida and I've got this bright sun coming in. So excuse me if I'm sort of glowing here.
No, you're gorgeous.
But did you feel like there were beings speaking to you and giving you information?
At 11 and 12. Yes, like you said.
At some level, it was just coming through your senses to you.
It was a different voice on my own at 11 or 12, and then I could feel and sense the present. I've been able to see what's been termed fourth dimensionally since childhood, and I thought everybody could do this.
Right.
But I would have to be quiet.
Just like I thought everybody could understand what animals were saying.
See?
And I thought everybody knew what everybody else was thinking. Doesn't everybody know that? Oh, I guess they don't,
Exactly. So it's interesting how we have to modulate. But more star seeds started coming to the planet, you alluded to earlier in your question, after the World War in the 50s on. Those were the original star seeds.
Absolutely. Because of the bombs that were.
That's correct. We were to correct the direction of humankind at that time.
Exactly.
So we were supposed to lay the foundation for this transition that was coming up later. So it went the proper direction.
No nuclear weapons.
Thank you.
Universe beyond universe, dimension beyond dimension. So we've had helpful people who are more advanced souls incarnating ever since the 1950s.
Correct.
And I think even my dad was like an early starseed who came to open the door for me and my brothers to come in. And
that started in the 20s. Those born in the 20s.
Absolutely, because he left when he was 60. And I found a picture a couple of years ago. It's on my Facebook profile pictures, actually, of him holding me when I'm like 1 year old. And I'm laughing. In front of us is literally a flying saucer, and there is a beam of light coming out his head. And I found that picture just a couple of years ago when I was putting something together for my nieces and nephews for Christmas or something. And I was like, oh, my dad was an early starseed, and he was traumatized by World War II. So he had World War II PTSD. I mean, these men who had to go fight, and who were sensitive, and it just devastated them. So they didn't function they were kind of malfunctioning emotionally in our world, which of course made him ill and leave early. But again, that was a soul plan, a soul choice.
Correct. Yes.
But not to get all off on that, but I think understanding that background of how this wave of kind of advanced capability has manifested here. And I just love it that you've been able to hone that in your life, and you've really made it into your life path, which is
actually
And
Yeah, I planned to be a doctor. Every teacher knew I was going to be a doctor and all that, and I did, except I kept doing this psychic research and study. And so when I realized at college I was going to go into to be a cardiologist and study metaphysics and psychology and the parapsychology, and I thought, wait a minute. And then it switched. And I realized now it's been confirmed that this was the purpose. But you couldn't have paid me $1 million to think I would be doing
you're
this.
working on hearts in another way.
Exactly. Hearts and souls.
Yes.
So,
And so
yes.
do you do readings for people?
Yes, I do. The readings they say, they used to call me the psychic, because I had half the clientele were, I'd get 20 calls a day and half were from other psychics. But they say that I ask God and the universe to guide, God creator, to guide those souls to the table, so to speak, that they had information for. And it always would amaze me. I don't know these people. And then they would call back with all this information that happened. But I actually see and hear the person's own guide slash guardian angel. Now, at first it was kind of freaky, but I asked for confirmation and that they exist fourth dimensionally.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I've never seen wings. I have seen this beautiful undulating auric energetic field,
I love
which
that.
I learned in the 5th century. We interpreted as humans incorrectly. We saw that, we've been drawing wings to describe what happened. A
Beautiful.
movement, yes.
Beautiful. I love that. I think that's great. I had somebody say angels are really angles of energetic creation. I thought that was really
Very good.
cool. But that the wings that have been interpreted, and I've heard this from other people who've maybe died, so to speak, and went to the other
Passed on.
side and came back, and they tell the story of, the angels just look like us. They are
Yes.
um,
But they're actually not grandma, grandpa, or loving a friend or relative passed over.
exactly.
A higher level of soul that has completed Earth School 101 and has put themselves in divine service to help all of us, get out of Earth School, so to speak. But and we get to choose that literally before we're born. But I've recognized I've had the single persons with the readings as well as about the world. They'll give me a group chorus or a group for myself, and I'll hear several voices. Usually it's at the right side where the guide energy is. Loved ones and friends visit on the left. They just say, hi, how are you? Quite different. But these guides do know everything, and they're hopefully helping, or you're allowing them to help you along your path in life.
Beautiful. Well, let's just for the sake of time,
Mm-hmm.
when I produce this show, I will put under the YouTube video and under the blog post at Naturally Better TV information on how to contact you if people are
Thank you.
interested in personal contact and having you guide them or give them a reading or whatever. Because I'm sure there will be people going, wow, I'd like to get in touch with her. And so we'll put your contact information. But really the purpose of our show today
Yes.
is to introduce some concepts. I know Ken Carrie in Return of the Bird Tribes called communities, islands of the future. And the third book in the 21st Century Superhuman Quantum Lifestyle series is about family relationship and community. And
Perfect.
so community is a really important part of how we are going to transform
Yes.
a culture that has kind of dug a pretty deep ditch for itself
Yes.
with polluting the earth and human suffering, people not having enough food and water and all of this. And as you teach and I teach, we are now in what the ancients called the shift of the ages. We've moved into
Yes.
greater fields of light in the cosmos,
Yes.
are both our solar system, our galaxy. So we've orbited it to this place we only get
Correct.
to once every 26,000 years.
Correct.
And I know this is the basis that you teach from, and I teach that as well. And I say
Yes.
we're being kind of pushed right now to
Yes.
wake up, to
Yes.
offload our old data that's outside of love. And love is really the only thing that there is. So how do we love ourselves, the planet, the rest of humanity through this amazing evolutionary leap so that it happens in the gentlest, kindest way possible? And
Yes.
I know you've had incredible insights on that. So I'd like you to share some of that with us, and then we'll take a look at some really cool slides of a whole cosmology that you and some of your partners have created.
What's interesting is the, how can I say, the phase of change. And this is, people don't realize we're so far on a three-dimensional world. So that means changes are not just spiritual and not just mental. It is also
And
physical. So,
Antonio, let me interrupt you for
mhm,
1 second. And remember,
please.
as we were talking yesterday, I
Yes.
get on these shows with you people who are so high frequency, and I seem to be the step down transformer for that. I seem to be able to hold the space for it. But let's just keep breathing and smiling and just staying really, keeping our energy field low, because I notice you kind of just phase
Phasing out.
out every once in a while, and we want to keep you so we can hear you. The
Good.
electronics don't always handle it when we're really going into higher frequency
Great.
downloads. So thank you
Keep
for,
being grounded.
yeah.
No problem.
But go ahead, please. I'm really excited about this story, and I
Thank you.
feel like it's extremely valuable to many frontliners who are out working now to develop community concepts. I think this
Yes.
information you have to share is really important.
So if you were preparing for a camping trip, you don't just get a compass and get in your car and go. That's a one way. But if you're going to prepare for a camping trip, I'll give this as a silly example so people can remember it. If you take a sleeping bag, that's fine. But if it's really cold or really rainy or really stormy, perhaps not. Okay. So the proper preparation is essential. You can walk to the campsite, or you can use, how can I say it, how can I say it, different methods of getting there, drive to. So you understand there's a different experience, but you're going to still get to the campsite, so to speak. So certain things are destined, and other things are fated, but based on your choice are the experiences you're going to have. So you're still going to be up there, camping, but depending on whether you go and prepared for food, water, or take nothing, those are different experiences you choose to handle. And that's the same thing as what's happening with these changes. So I know, and been confirmed that this is a spiritual change of humankind to be more caring, more compassionate. We don't know our neighbor and community that will exist coming up for the future. We will. Now, my clients started coming to me in 96, 98 because some of them were concerned about those changes at Y2K. And remember, I'm a hard and fast skeptic, so I had studied Earth change and this mythology about Earth changes in depth for 5 years, scientifically, geographically, spiritually, metaphysically. I was going to just prove it. Recall my stance on things? It worked the opposite way. So I've been watching those that were credible. I found 3 credible sources, basically, and I've been watching what the work being confirmed literally on a day-to-day basis for now over 40 years, really watching and researching. So what happened in 96 and 98 was people were nervous. Well, you cannot be. You must remain in a calm state to keep the intuition flowing and open, to keep the spiritual connection to the divine. We were supposed to come here to teach or to inspire others to keep the balance of mind, body, and soul. And so that was the key. So all of a sudden they were concerned, and the guides gave me the information to tell them, and I cannot edit. They said, we will see the great earth changes not in 2000, but January 2005. So perhaps your audience may recall what happened 5 days before the date they gave me. December 26, 2004, was a tsunami that hit Sumatra.
I'm
And
getting
literally,
total chills.
yes. And that tsunami wiped out 250,000 lives in 15 minutes and then affected 800,000 along the other coast. And it moved that island of Sumatra 1 whole mile. So they were correct, but they had been correct before. They had told me long ago we'd see volcanic activity in the United States. People used to laugh at me. I was calm about it. And then we had Mount St. Helens blow steam, and that steam alone blew and killed everything within 5 miles. So people have to understand life is a beautiful process of experience. Now, based on how we prepare, is how we handle those experiences.
And Antonia, let me just
Please.
ask you really quick to include this too, because I just watched
Yes.
a really great video by yourself that I will put
Oh, my.
also under this one,
Thank you.
on the crop circles,
Yes.
showing literally the earth shifting on its axis.
Yes.
And it's really graphic. It's amazing. It's so good. And we know that that was those crop circles are downloaded from the galactics or from
Correct.
and so maybe you could talk about that a little bit
Yes.
as part of what kind of planetary shift are we in. I know even Mr. Kesh right now is
Yes.
predicting that we're in this earthquake cycle, that the way the plates are moving is almost predictable.
Correct.
So why don't you
It's
share
her.
about that with us?
Okay, ultimately, it's her normal natural growth pattern for planetary soul. Gaia, or Earth herself, has a soul, as are all planets. Okay, so people have to understand, just because we're here doesn't mean she's supposed to stop her normal pattern of growth. We do affect it with our thoughts and thinking. And so that's why I was saying the choice to open spiritually, we have a better choice, but we can't just stay on surface, because her natural cycle does not allow humans to do so. And we find in places like Darankuyu, where it was 20,000 people underground in the stone, they had air and everything else, living fully fledged community underground, and that's found in several different places. Like I said, in Peru, we see Machu Picchu, where they moved higher ground.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, they made these choices. The trick is, you could stay on the coast if you want, and that may be your destiny to experience firsthand the tsunami. Or you would prepare, as the world governments are secretly doing, and prepare bunkers underground. Now, the difference is, our groups, or the secret garden communities, which I'm hoping to, this is our world base for all over the world, to build those that resonate. Literally, they can meditate, bring in this spiritual knowledge in these communities, and they can hold the light for humankind and Earth as she goes through her beautiful physical, spiritual, evolutionary transition from third dimension back to fourth and on to fifth, as she was determined, as she's supposed to do. We have our galactic brothers and sisters helping us correct. But humans, like on Earth, we're supposed to make those choices. So they can sit and they will experience firsthand the tsunami if they choose on the beach, if that is their divine choice. And I have to respect that choice. For those of us that promise to help rebuild society in these community groups, we need to follow what the divine has given us, this opportunity, and they gave it a guidelines for what should be included in community, how we should be formed, and where to go and where not to go. We should be given that opportunity to form. Still, that meditation keeps it, so we are still better protected. Without that spiritual protection, it could be, how can I say, really horrible onslaught of events. With a spiritual connection, it's important, but we have to be cognizant. You don't walk outside in the wintertime with no clothes on for a reason. We physically prepare. So I want people to physically prepare as well as spiritually and mentally prepare with calm. And so what we found, I was guided to, I thought, how are these people going to be sheltered? Now, this is years I've been given this information. And they guided me to 3 different sources that were solid. I'd gone through and called and researched deeply. And I found that the dome process, not geodesic domes. All domes are not made the same. Geodesics always leak. The owners always tell you those seams leak. It's too labor intensive for the time frames we have now. We need to be able to get those groups together and build safe, sustainable communities that have a phase of not only preparing people through this period, but after it, when it's safe to come back to the surface after Gaia or Earth herself's planetary changes through this point in the cosmos. So those that choose not to, that's okay. That is their destined choice of experience. But I will tell you this cycle always takes out 2/3 of the population at the final event. It is a natural culling process for Earth herself. It is not a negative process. We are one soul that lives forever. And we keep getting into these cute bodies and cultures and countries here in Earth School for the different experiences we choose for soul development, greater soul development along our life path. So ultimately, those that choose, as always on Earth, this has happened, scientists knew 15 years ago that it happened at least 82 times. Geographic north changed. Now we already see that magnetic north has changed. And I noted those changes in 2000 when no one would discuss it. I found with compass and everything where I had moved into the light shining through at a different angle. I researched it. There was another architect looking to see why his solar panel home wasn't working.
And Antonia, I use one of those the apps on a smartphone that is
Yes.
I don't use cell service, but I use the smartphone on Wi-Fi just because it's a good tool. But I use Skyview on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed last summer I was caretaking on the Yucatan in Mexico. So I was out every night looking at the stars, and I was like getting transmissions and all this stuff going on. But Skyview didn't match the sky. I mean,
Correct.
it was, and it's amazing. And last night I went out because I was preparing for this with you. It's so far off now. It's like,
Thank you.
you're kidding me. Like, I'm looking up where these stars are supposed to be, and they're way over here. And
That's correct.
I've seen other people mention the same thing, that
And I've been doing it. I've been asking people since 2003 to 2006 to take a look at where magnetic north is with a manual compass.
right.
And then smartphone is the manipulated powers that be compass.
Mm,
So what I found was they were misdirecting us on the clock. I found that manual clocks were 15 minutes ahead a while back in mid 2000s.
wow.
And I found that this slowing down process that she normally takes place on her axis, she slows down her axis before she makes her change. This is her normal process, like a top. So,
Very interesting. I want to do another show with you. I want to go into this right now, but
oh, okay.
I'd like to do another show at some point, maybe soon, and we
Yes.
can talk about your predictions about Earth changes, what you've been
Yes.
able to tune into, and kind of go into that more deeply. But
Yes.
right now, what we planned on doing today on this show was to
Mhm.
share about how
The
you
community.
have been shown and conceived of to build these communities that can be islands of the future. And there will be those who are drawn to this
Yes.
concept. I think it's fantastic. I'm getting chills just talking about it again.
I
And
was trying. The dome process is interesting because domes have been around for centuries. So literally, the process can be patented, but there are different ways of viewing it. And back in mid 2000, I had located a dome company, but their process didn't seem right, corrected. And I asked the divine universe to guide me where it was. I ended up even becoming friends with the owner of Monolithic Dome, the world leader in domes. Unfortunately, without his realizing it, he built all the FEMA domes. And he has now ordered 10,000 of these units that I've come across. They go up, you're not going to believe this, in 30 minutes. They last 200 years. They have 6-inch walls, the 9.5-foot ceilings. The basic dome that can be expanded very rapidly is 23 feet in diameter. Our basic dome gives 415 square feet, let alone if you can expand it, it can be made into a huge complex. In fact, there's, like I said, the elite in Russia have ordered a 20,000 person underground hotel. So as you expand with these panels that you just click in, all you need is a ladder, a pole, and an Allen key. They go down as quickly as they
that
go.
is amazing. Let's go ahead and take a look at your slides so we
Please.
can talk about it in there. And let's also talk about what you need and you and your team need in order to make
Yes.
this happen, because I know, I'm out working with all these different teams of people around the world, and I know that there are already those who are wanting to put funding into projects that can help move these kind of ideas forward. And so let's talk about that a little bit too as we
Yes.
view this. Are you ready to switch to
Yes.
screen sharing, and we can do that? Because I think getting a visual will really help.
That would be perfect.
Give me just a moment here and let me switch.
Our company name is Habitus Building Systems.com. And ultimately, you see now that is an expanded unit, the basic dome with the hemispheres on the right and left side. And that center panel is a straight piece, 7 feet long, that can be placed in, and you can add them infinitum to make the different shapes. The dome itself looks small here. But what happens is it's 9.5-foot ceilings, and I can guarantee in apartments and homes, people don't normally have 9.5-foot ceilings above them. They have the normal 8 feet. And then again, the expansion process is quick. So it works on a system that they can easily put together. So a whole community could get together with 4 people putting this up over a weekend, 34, 35 units if they do it in this, if they choose the separate units. Or they can have separate and add in with larger, elongated units. So it lends itself. You see on the opposite side there is a doorway entrance. And literally the windows can be utilized any space, any place where you want to put them. You can add an overlay, how can I say, for solar use. things like this.
Yeah, let's go ahead forward. And I know people are going to ask right away, it kind of looks like plastic, but you've explained to me
Right.
that it is
No,
not.
it is a green product. It is literally the cast off product actually that they throw away from oil refineries. They throw away. So natural based product, and it's polyurethane interior, but a different kind of process. So it's solid, and it's covered with polyurea, which is blast proof. Like I said, impermeable. And we know that the only thing standing after an earthquake is literally a dome shape, and or, like I said, weather hurricanes is a dome shape. That's the only thing that lasts. So any flat-walled surface will not work through these earth changes. We have already experienced winds up to 300 miles per hour on the planet, and as she slows down, the atmosphere continues to travel at 1,100 miles per hour. So what happens is that process of winds. So on the surface for quite some time, it may be unstable until she finds her groove again. But you see the doorway entrance there, and that's the basic dome. The floor is included, but everything can be put up, 3 people, in less than 30 minutes.
Wow.
And you can retrofit it any way you want. It's built for infrastructure, water catchment, whatever you need. It's built this way so you can use all those processes. You can fit it out like a basic dome at your price point or level, and it can be appointed like a private jet in all its opulence for those that want to do that. So anything you want in the interior can be done or made. What I found myself in a dome process is, or in sitting in a dome, all of a sudden I looked, I could feel the energy change.
Yes.
So we know that flat walls or rectilinear architecture cuts the angles into us.
Absolutely.
And so the round system gives us a different energy.
Yes.
And so this is the basic dome, and they just choose what size they want. These can be buried underground easily, put inside caves, hung on a cliff, and you see an interior. Someone can choose whatever interior they want. With the wall systems, it can be configured any way you would like. You can lift up the door entrance, come down the center, all kinds of ways. And this was built for the Arctic because it's R42 to R60 insulation.
Wow.
So no place, homes have R12 to R14 across the world. So it is energy efficient. Here you see a dome with the solar panels, and we can also use them as grow domes to grow food. And one dome builds as much as 600 acres of food for community or families.
Wow.
And in a faster process, it quickens the pace of photosynthesis. So you get lettuce from seed in 18 days, tomatoes in 38 days.
Is that because of the shape or the amount of light?
It's because it's all contained inside the unit, so you need less water. Your hydroponic systems or whatever systems you're using, no bugs, no need for pesticides or machinery. And it's not environmentally necessary to now stop for a certain season.
Fantastic.
So these can be placed underground as well. And this you see is an extended unit with those two from another angle. You just see the doorway here. You can put the doorway any place you'd like. Windows on, windows off, and you can add those 2 centerpieces or extend 3, 4, 5. And this is just a double, unit at this point.
So I noticed in the first one, the windows were dark. Is there some sort of a...
That was a solar panel. And that's just the person's choice, whatever they choose.
And then do these actually have literal windows in them, or are they...
Yes, you can have windows or open based on your choice. Some panels you'll see as we go further have no windows. So you ask for the windows you see here. Those side panels that's the Taurus model, basically.
That's beautiful.
And what you see is 4 domes placed together. And you notice in the center, it's meant for rain catchment or for infrastructure. And literally what ends up happening is it's 4 units. So that's over 1,200 square feet you're looking at right there.
So they could literally have a water catchment tank under
Correct. Under that.
Right.
Now, community, people have to understand community. I've had a lot of clients that just want for their family. Your community is not just your family.
Right.
It's your family of humankind, your brothers and sisters across this planet. That's your community. And remember, I was given that information that we should not have communities less than 100 and no more than 200 in size.
That's really beautiful. And I've heard that figure before too. 200 is a nice number where everyone can know each other,
Yes.
can have opportunities to interact with each other, and yet
Yes.
there's enough room to get space from each other as well.
Correct.
And I think we tend to go, I mean, the way we're living in this modern materialistic civilization, we've sort of been trained to think, oh, survival for me and my family, how do I
Uh-huh.
convert this into my own survival? And
Yes.
I believe, like you do, that it is really going to be groups who gather together in
Correct.
communities of, any
All across the world.
all across the world, that are going to really be able to carry forward um, healthy
This
ways of being.
and this new model that humankind going into the fourth and some on to the fifth dimensional level are supposed to exhibit this care and compassion for humankind and Earth in symbiosis that is balanced for a change. So
Yeah.
that's the where we're headed to. Here you see an elongated version that can be used for whatever. This could be a school. This could be a business. It could be a spa. Later on, you can use these units, take them apart, and use it commercially when it's safe to come back to service, literally.
How long do you have, in the intel you've gotten, do you
Mhm.
see the surface being challenging to live on?
We know that the governments are lying to the population while they're already prepared. The U.S. built 1,500 underground bunkers just last year.
Right. I've seen a lot of information on that.
So they're trying to tell people so they won't, have panic. But they're saying decades, 1,000 years, up into 1,000 years, and all that. We do not. I'm sorry to say, and I'm quite confident of the Earth and us being able to handle these changes.
Right.
With no fear. What happens is it would be within the next 24 to 36 months. And it is not just an overnight experience.
Right.
Earth has been here 4.5 billion years. She takes time to turn over in bed, I call it.
That is really cute.
So to find a point of balancing again on her axis and our new axes, literally to put everything in place, that time below maybe 6 months to 2 years wherever you are based on what environment you place or that community.
I think that's a good figure, 6 months to 2 years, having, a community that would be built like this,
Yes.
and have these underground or partially underground in settings that are considered
Correct.
safer settings. And we can get into that in another
Sure.
video. We'll talk about those locations.
Yes.
But I loved what you said the other day when we were chatting about this. Have you received an invitation to the underground that have already been made? No, I haven't. Well, if I haven't received an invitation, I'm not among the chosen few. And
No.
so we need to choose ourselves and choose
Correct.
to gather together in islands of the future to
Correct.
create ways to support ourselves and to care for one another,
Correct.
to sustain ourselves through whatever is coming.
Through these beautiful changes. Now,
Yeah.
this is interesting. My metaphysical research is very deep. And on the subject matter of those changes, souls from all over the divine universes, multiverses, were clamoring to come and be born onto Earth just to experience this evolution of human and Earth at the same time. They're all like lighting up. The only ones allowed, Carrie, were the ones that had to have been through Earth cataclysm before and excelled. So they've been through this experience before, and they're coming down, ramping up to get it together. We know times of Sumerians giving this knowledge to Egypt, and actually the Sumerians coming as our.
I've had memories of this ever since I was a kid, and
Yes.
I've had awarenesses of locations and
Yes.
all of that.
Yes. And so what I like is only those were allowed, but they were all clamoring because they wanted this experience.
Right.
For soul development, evolutionary
This is really
development.
cool. What is this?
Now this is, you see, this is like two toruses. It's called the 4 units or quad units, or 3 actually, because you see the 3 centers
Right.
placed together. So that's basically 3 times 4 is 12 units,
Nice.
all snapped together, all going through with that CAM process. Or literally, how can I say it? A pole, a ladder, and a couple of people. And this is what's put together as a school or a hospital, a medical center, community, cafeteria, store, storage.
Very cool.
You see, it's huge. This is the Russian hotel. This can be layered 24 floors deep.
Wow.
Yes, and they want an underground hotel, they call it, because they didn't want to say it was a bunker.
Nice. Very
So,
cool.
yes, built in for storage and utility and infrastructure, everything they need, but can go 20 floors deep.
That's amazing.
And this you'll see is a half of the dome. And you see that's a full-size man. Actually, how can I say it? Standing on ladder and everything else even higher. The man standing is 6'5". And the units are made so you can go, even someone at that height, my partner is 6'5", he can stand within 6 inches of the wall and not be obstructed. So they're
Nice.
much larger than people think. And that's just the basic. And so you see 6 and 6 walls give a sense of privacy that you need in community, as well as communal time frame. You can do the longer extended units for a community. But just
Nice.
so they get a sense, it's not tight and cramped. And that's just the basic.
Very cool.
And here you see an extended version. This is turned into a classroom where they have the coat room, the washrooms, boys and girls, and then it's extended through for their class structure and the doorway. They can open if you want, and if it's on surface, if it was on surface for service or use now, it could be for ventilation if they need it for, but remember, it's already made, so it's already R42 to R60. So even in the desert, it would still be about 80 degrees. And in the frozen Arctic, it would range around 68 to 72 to 70 to 72 degrees, actually.
And you're talking about with the ground insulation, is that correct?
No, no
No,
need. These
just
have the
above.
built-in floor.
Okay. So, and I like seeing the ventilation hatches.
Hmm.
So are you picturing these just underground at ground level so you could open the ventilation hatch and close it? Or are you?
That will not be necessary. You have to be at least 14 inches below ground because of the dynamic of the portion of the galaxy we're going through. Has
Interesting.
350 trillion units of radiation, gamma radiation. We live with 7 million per day. This is
Wow.
350 trillion that'll be hitting us.
Hmm.
So my suggestion is not to excavate because that costs more. What you do is put it alongside a hill and take the hill down. Okay,
Nice.
and brush or put around it, and then you can come out. And then
Nice.
literally you have your built-in air filtration, water, all that stuff, all that can still
You
be
know,
done.
years ago, I lived with the guy I was with at the time in a underground house in
Mm,
North Carolina
mm.
that had been built by a guy that worked for the nuclear weapons industry. He was an older
Ah,
gentleman, and he and his wife they knew what they needed to build in order to create protection for themselves. And it was a beautiful home. Actually, it was, it was about 100 feet long, and it was, had bedrooms on one side and living areas on the
yes,
other, and then it had an atrium in the middle of it with
yes,
a big
exactly what we're doing.
plexiglass dome,
That's our idea for community.
and it was wonderful. And there was a hot tub and all kinds of things
Yes,
growing, and
yes.
really a wonderful, fun environment that we
And
actually.
you experience that.
Yeah, I lived there for, I don't know, 3 years or something like that.
Oh, and this is interesting because on a soul level, I would just suggest or say your soul was preparing and being guided to what would be best for these changes.
Yeah. And then we actually built a center that had some similarities to that, but part of it's underground and part of it's above ground.
So
How would
what
you
can,
how
go
would
ahead.
you think if people had, I don't want you to lose your thought. What were you?
No, I was just going to say people have to understand for the changes, they're going to have to be underground for the changes as well as the problems with the powers that be that are left for the first 4 years after the event. After that, they can go up to surface and you can take them apart and make villages all over the place
That
with
is
them.
really cool. I love the adaptability of these
Yes.
structures and how.
These even float.
And would you say they're relatively, those pieces are, how many people would you
50
say would fit?
pounds each piece, 10
So
pieces to the basic. A
one
woman could
person.
pick them up.
Nice. Very
Yes.
cool. I love that little stairway. That's really sweet.
For the bottom level if they choose that. So it's important to understand that all these were made so they can lift, put in place, easy. A couple of people, three, you're good to go.
Amazing.
So there's no labor there's intensity, there's no skilled labor necessary, there's no machinery that's necessary. Do you understand? They're
That
all ready
is
to go.
really, really, really neat.
Hmm. This is an example of a temple that was done, and this could also be a configuration for a library, a council, like I said, a large community, an airport. So you see it, and you just the flat units and still the round units all there. that same scenario is still there.
Awesome.
This, after surface is clear and all clear, we can go back to surface. You can have yourself a nice beach resort.
I like that one.
So
That's
you can move them, start a business, because every niche of infrastructure and everything on surface will have to be rebuilt. So I'm really looking to speak to the rebuilding team that will take this knowledge of alternative energy, spiritual growth and understanding and awareness for generations to come. Several generations down the line will benefit of our proper preparation now. Otherwise, through these earth changes, as they always are, they are lost. We don't want that to happen.
beautiful.
Here in the interim, they can get their basic dome and put it on the top of the roof of their house. And then they can take it down, move it to their bunker area, and slide it right in at that time that's best for them. But here it is, and it's beautifully built, and any other penthouse would cost, thousands of dollars to do so, but they remember they're lightweight. So they don't have those kind of conditions.
So what would you say the cost of something like this is?
We have to modulate the cost. What we're trying to do is get the plant. We have everything worked out to go. We are looking for or seeking funding to build the plants worldwide, as well as the central hub in Canada. But what happens is the basics will run for governments or world or community or commercial use that'll be based on their country's GDP. So Western countries, we would say around less than 20,000, somewhere between 15. And for communities, they're the company, because I help them come together, I'm giving my discount for community groups, or there's a way that they can build their community without having expenditure, so to speak, if they help us and we do all the work. Nice. So we ultimately have, like I said, major countries interested in now over 300 million in orders, literally.
So you're really looking for funding to help get the initial plant going.
The initial, yes, plant, and then cookie cutter them out.
Right, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Here's a unit that's basically just for RVs use, as well as you can put it underground, as you can see. But you can also live there or put it out on the farm or wherever you want, ranch, whatever piece of land you have to protect your RV, as well as have a home.
Or you could
put
workshop. Tractors in there.
Yes.
Or,
vehicles.
Have out on if we're even still using petroleum products, or we may have converted all those vehicles.
Convert, exactly. My suggestion is we always convert and use those other alternative energy sources.
Right, as we're moving into those.
Correct.
I think we're at the end of that, so
and there are more configurations and interiors, but you can make it as beautiful and as homey as you'd like. But remember, they last for 200 years, and the plant itself will yield 30, one line only, one robotic line will yield 30 to 40 homes per day. Nothing can be built that quickly. And that's
love it. And you talk about robotics building it, so
yes.
People are not having to be in there doing those repetitive tasks.
Correct.
They can instead be out building their own,
correct community. Correct.
Antonia, this is absolutely fantastic, and I think it's a brilliant, not only idea, but look how far you guys have carried it. And you really are perched on the brink of production. And,
yes, correct.
Able to offer these to people around the world. And as you mentioned, you've got some pretty large interest from countries.
Yes,
and
all over the world.
So we're going to get this video out to a lot of people, and hopefully we will get it into the hands of some who will say, wow, I'd like to have this in my future, and let me participate and become part of this idea. So we'll put your contact information and how people could become involved, how they could get a hold of you, even if they were interested in investing. We'll put that under the video.
That'd be perfect.
Itself and the blog post that this goes into. And anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
I would just like to say, like I say, if we look at the problems today with homelessness, with the problems of overcrowding, even with the refugee situations worldwide, this is the go-to item, and that's why we have those orders. We had to stop taking orders. It was so huge everywhere in the world that can be utilized until we have that first plant up. So it's for those.
Really, your kind of stumbling block, or your next step right now, is drawing in an investor who would like to participate with you in this first planet.
Who understands the need for this on a humanitarian basis.
Awesome. Because
Thank you.
it's not just an economic thing.
No, we know that it'll be
Obviously.
$1 billion business. We've already calculated and the business plans are available. But what the point is, it's need. Hawaii itself literally has more homeless than any other place in the United States per capita. So they're priced out. So this would be a solid home instead of a tent that's blown aside.
Nice.
Things like that, but all over the world.
Nice. Beautiful. Okay. Well, thank you so much, my dear sister.
Thank you so
for
much,
the
Carrie.
beautiful work that you're doing in the world every day, and for being here with us in these times of great change as a holding up a guiding light for us to, as you brought through this information from other dimensions, that we have kind of a map to follow. And for those of us who are awake and get that this change is happening, we can kind of forge the way for others also. So
thank you so much.
yes. Okay. Many blessings. Much love to everybody out there. If you're excited about what Antonia is doing, get in touch with her and keep listening to our shows, because we have many more exciting things coming up, and we shall see you all soon.
Thank you.
See you soon, Antonia.
Take care.
And we'll do another show soon. Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Much love. Adios. Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.